I heard Murphy's Law earlier this summer, and I've been playing it constantly. I really love it. And so you've got plans for a new album coming out, is that right?
Yes, there's an album coming out at the end of September. It's called Róisín Machine.
Awesome. And did you do all of that? Did you record all of that before lockdown?
No, not all of it. Actually, did fair amount of patching up bits and pieces in lockdown, but we have been working on this record really sporadically for about 10 years span.
Wow.
The first thing that we made was called Simulation, and it did come out about 9 years ago. So, and that's on the album. So yeah, we were very much just putting out tunes now and again, every couple of years. And then the idea was that it was to be an album, but all sorts of things happened, and babies happened, and I got into singing Italian songs, and all sorts of things got in the way. And eventually he put out Incapable. Parrot, the guy I work with, he has his own imprint called Bitter End, and he put out this song Incapable on Bitter End. And Bitter End's got no names on it. It's only got the labels, like it's only vinyl. But everyone knew it was me and him. And so we got signed to Skin, part of BMG. Big deal for this album. So quite happy about that. It's finally come to fruition.
Yeah, very good news. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the record, and it's good. Nice that you've been like continuing to work on it during lockdown, because a fair amount of people that I've spoken to on this podcast have sort of said, "Oh, since the lockdown started, I haven't been able to, sing a note or like write a tune or do anything."
For me, the opposite. I mean, I'm working with another producer on the next project, DJ Cozy. And he insisted that I became a fay, at least, to write the way I write songs with music software, Ableton. So I got into that about a year ago. And I was ready when the lockdown came to kind of be able to record vocals at home that you can put on records, So used to be like a little 4-track cassette if I was writing at home. So you'd have to go then into a studio with an engineer and record the vocals and blah. But now I can do it myself. So that was very freeing and just happened to be the fantastic timing,
Yeah.
So I'm more or less finished the next album too.
Really?
Yeah. Róisín Machine by name and nature.
So the first record that I've got your list here in front of me, and the first record that you chose that you liked was the Chance the Rapper record, The Big Day, which came out last year, didn't it? And because a lot of Chance the Rapper fans kind of were saying that was not as good as his first two and all the rest.
Right.
But I loved it.
Book, but then I really like some of the new one. I like the way he's almost like Paul McCartney in a way. Like there's some kind of genius structures in some of those songs, and he's not frightened to go there where it's like almost like, I don't know, like almost like umpire music sometimes, big structured, and I just really like him as an artist, and I wish I hadn't started with that one because I'm not sure what I'm going to say about it, except it's brilliant. And there's something about him that's just he's not afraid to be melodic.
Really
in an old-fashioned way, so there's an awful lot there's not much melody in modern music. It's kind of been stripped away, and it's nice to hear modern music that's very melodic but very, very modern.
Yeah, that's actually kind of what I liked about Murphy's Law. I was like, because somebody was playing it, and I hadn't heard one of your records for a while, and and they just said that they were going to play it, and it was just like I was just knocked out by the melody, and I'm jumping ahead now to the last tune that you chose. Is it an album? Because I think it's just a tune. The Gwen Guthrie, like Padlock.
No, the Gwen Guthrie Padlock is a EP. It was a bit longer than an EP, but it was
Okay.
songs that were already existing, or a record that was already existing, and then Larry Levan dubbed it. So Padlock is the dubbed versions of these songs.
All right, okay. Because I listened to the tune Padlock. I think it was off another album. I don't know. I could hear that.
Right, so you haven't. Now you need to get the Padlock EP, but it's longer than an EP. It's an album really, this album with Parrot was very influenced by it, and the idea that there's proper music somewhere else, and we've taken this and sort of dubbed it, and that's kind of was the idea behind Róisín Machine in a way. So it's to feel almost like there's a real album somewhere else, but we've kind of done a remix album almost, which Larry Levan would have been, if anybody doesn't know, he was an amazing DJ. I never heard him play. He played at Paradise Garage, and he kind of he was at the very vanguard of kind of inventing what the remix is, but at that time they would call it a dub. So you put all the tracks up onto a massive big desk, and he manipulated it so that he could play it in the Paradise Garage at the weekend, basically. And I love that thing that comes from dubbing stuff, whether it's Jamaican music or disco or what have you, that the record itself, even the final product, is not the final product. You know, it depends on the system that you play it on and what the DJ does to it. And he can extend it with 2 records and so on to make it work in a completely new environment. So the idea that a piece of music isn't really ever finished, it's still a tool. Yeah. Very much in Jamaican music, you know, as well. It just fascinates me.
Yeah, well, I mean, now with records, you know, not being the finished thing, you get people like, you know, Kanye West and stuff doing things like they put an album out and then they decide, actually, you know what, I wasn't happy with that master or whatever, and then pull it down and put up a new version, yeah. Stuff like that.
That I find very exciting, I think.
Yeah, it's quite exciting. But
I would like to do more of that shizzle.
What if you love the versions, though? Do you know what I mean? Like,
do they disappear forever? No.
No, probably not in those cases. Versions. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But, I mean, I went to Jamaica once. I was buying records for my friend Winston Hazel. He's a DJ in Sheffield. And he would play like versions, what you call versions, which is the, you know, the instrumental version on the other side of the 45. It's still a very big thing in Jamaica, 45-inch singles for the dancehall stuff and what have you. So I went in to buy a few for him in the record shop. And I was saying, you know, said to the guy in the shop, I'm buying it for a DJ, and he mixes these versions with techno and with stuff. And he sort of is creating his own thing in Sheffield. So I need stuff that sounds a bit scientific. So the guy was like, yeah. So he started playing me the 45s, you know, and I'd be like, yeah, that's good, that's scientific. Put that one in the bag, that's great. And then he'd play one that was a bit too organic or whatever, and I'd go, no, it's not quite what we're looking for. And he'd turn the speakers around and like move the wires out of the middle of the speakers and put them just into the tweeter. And then he'd look at me and go like that. And I go, yeah, actually, now it is sounding scientific. Yeah, you can put that in the bag and all now. So you see what I mean? Like, and that was like with a sound system that was like something that you buy out of Argos, you know. Still, you know, it's not finished, the thing. It's never finished. It's still a tool. And I think DJs and DJing needs to remember that needs to be creative, and there's a dialogue going on between musicians and people who play out, and then of course the people on the dance floor, and it never ends. It keeps on going. So this idea that the record's a finished product doesn't interest me.
Yeah, and so when you play like a live show, and you're playing, you know, kind of older stuff, does it therefore do you change it up quite a lot?
Yeah, we do. We do lots of versions of things, and things evolve out of versions. So there's a song on this album called "We Got Together," and the vocal part of it, I made it up on stage at the end of another song, which was way extended, and sent a little video of me singing it as I made it up to Parrot, and then he made a track to go with the vocal, and so on and so on. So these are the things that we will miss, obviously, now. These kinds of interactions, the interaction of in the real of music and people, sound systems and places, and what kind of an effect that's going to have on music, I don't know.
Well, hopefully not too long a one. I mean, some people are sort of going back to doing those kind of like socially distanced things, but they're not really the same, I don't think. Kind of
Do you see photographs of people all standing on their own little risers at a festival?
Yeah.
Give up.
Yeah. It didn't look.
Yeah, I mean, kids are going in, aren't they? They're going into the computer to go out. They go to hear a band in a video game, or DJs in another reality, you know, in a virtual place. Maybe that will be good eventually.
I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, like my brother plays like Fortnite, which is where Travis Scott did that. You know, he did that gig in the video game. And I feel like, you know, very untrendy and just kind of like old and stuffy, but I just would rather be at a real gig than in a video game watching a gig. But I kind of, you know, it's quite a cool thing to do during lockdown when you can't do it. And I respect that. And, you know, I saw the documentary about Travis Scott, and I thought he was cool working with Earth, Wind and Fire. And, you know, it's nothing against him, but it's just like, yeah, nothing can replace human beings being around human beings. And it's amazing, you know, even how much better you feel after just, you know, just meeting up with someone like after, you know, just so long only being immersed in.
The human need to congregate and sort of, yeah, it's very much so something that I've grown up with, and I will miss a great deal, and I'm missing. And you think you don't need it, and then suddenly you start thinking, geez, I'd really like to go to a party and dance and be around people, but hopefully it won't be too long.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And you know, in the meantime, there are still, you know, records and things like that. And so like Moody Man, I must confess I hadn't heard before this list, but I was listening, and I was liking it.
But, brilliant.
So who is Moody Man for the Philistines, including me?
He's a guy. Is he from Detroit? I think. Is he Detroit or Chicago? I think Detroit. Made a lot of house. He can make hip hop. He can make soul. The guy that I work with is Stefan Kozala. DJ Koz is kind of similar too, in that, although he's German, so it's a whole other thing. But this business of there being no boundaries that could be into Aphex Twin and, you know, Chance the Rapper or whatever. You know, somebody could be, but have that breadth and that knowledge of how to manipulate modern music, and going in and using really what you could turn your nose up, you know, just working in a computer or whatever. So proper musicians can go, wow, that's not right. But these people can make something actually more organic and open and warm and human, working like that in a little fucking computer. Then many, many very talented, super amazing musicians with huge, like, can, you know, and it's about ears and being able to hear the soul of things, or having a bit of soul, and also just never letting the ego get in the way of how you produce. And Moody Man's very much that. He's he's obviously got incredible ears. And I love that, you know. I'd love to work with him. He would be one of the first people on the list, honestly.
Have you ever met him?
No. Apparently he's actually moody, so.
maybe he'd be difficult to
people
work
like
with.
to talk about people.
Yeah, for sure. But his music did sound very cool, so I'm looking forward to listening to that. And it's taken away an album, or is it an EP?
Album.
It's an album, yeah. Because I'm not sure. He must have some kind of distribution thing. But I literally just was typing stuff into Spotify, and I couldn't find a couple of the things, which I think is a good sign. I saw that My Bloody Valentine weren't on Spotify. Maybe they're not happy with the royalties.
That's right. Yeah, I looked for him yesterday. I couldn't find it. It was like a playlist of, but no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it must be a royalty thing or something like that. So you chose you know, quite an obscure Van Morrison album, Lead and Flee.
Is it though? I don't think so now so much. It's beginning to overtake Astral Weeks in terms of people's favourite Van record. Just
really,
yeah, it's beginning to, yeah, I think so.
Really? Yeah. I mean, it is a fantastic record. I didn't know that that it was overtaking Astral Weeks. So is that just, you know?
Neck and neck. I mean, I love Astral Weeks and I loved it as a kid, but I discovered this album because it has a song called Streets of Arklow on, from Arklow, this town. Right. So I was saying to somebody in Ireland, oh, I love Van Morrison. Do you ever hear Streets of Arklow? And I was like, oh, wow. And then that led me to listen to this album. It's a brilliant album, brilliant. Very, yeah, I mean, it's super Celtic. So obviously that chimes with me. But yeah. I think there's a song on there called Can't Push the River. And I've listened to it like 200 times or something. It's unbelievably good. Yeah. The arrangements are beautiful across this record. He's very in control, you know, Van. I mean, a lot is sort of talk about how the producer of Astral Weeks, you know, dined out on it for his whole life, but having made a classic album, but he didn't really produce it. Van produced it, and he toured that record for 2 years. I don't know, and was totally ready to go in the studio and record it exactly as it is, you know. I don't know how the stories are behind this record because it's slightly bigger production as well. There's string arrangements and things on it, but it's sublime, this record. And Van Morrison I listened to specifically to try and understand what it is to have that kind of freedom as a singer. He's in total control. The thing I really like about him is he's a virtuoso singer, in complete control of it, and lets himself go totally free, and sometimes very guttural and just like doesn't make any sense. But what I really love about it is he doesn't mind if he's not pretty when he sings. He lets it get ugly sometimes. There's something about it frequency-wise that shouldn't be nice, but it's fucking everything to me, his voice.
Yeah.
And I started as a not singer, not as a musician, as a person who said stupid stuff and had concepts and told Mark what we weren't going to do and was reactionary and all that sort of thing. Coming really more like a conceptual artist, I came into it, really. I know that sounds pretentious, but it was like, do you like my tight sweater? And it was all just pretending to be this or coming up with stupid that. And then also what the kinds of music that we weren't going to do. We're not going to do Four on the Floor. We're going to try this and those kind of ideas. So over the years, I've learned about my voice, singing, you know. But I do, coming from where I come from, I really aspire to be even remotely as altruistic with singing as he is. It blows my mind.
Yeah, he is just an incredible like yeah, his voice is. I've read reviews sort of comparing his voice to like a kind of like brass instrument or something, because he's just like.
That's right. He can sound very much like a brass instrument, yeah.
But then,
It's not,
yeah, as you say, the control.
It's like Irish.
Yeah.
It cuts through the frequencies of it, cut right through. But you break it down, you know, it's not someone posing. There's no pose in it. It's just completely natural, completely his soul, and totally soulful. And you could sit down and you could find this new stuff that he made any day of the week, even no matter how much you're into him. And it's mind-blowing, his catalogue. It's just incredible, but this is amazing.
Yeah, his new stuff is very good. But I mean, he's been releasing a sort of like a record a year or something like that. It's been, or maybe, I think there was one year recently where there were 2 records, and it's all, you know, there's not a bad album, there's not a bad song really, as far as I've listened to a lot of it. And also when you put his lyrics down, you know, sometimes, you know, if you just Google his lyrics, even to some of the, like, you know, the hits like that everybody listens to, like Tupelo Honey or whatever, you know, like just seeing those words on a page, I just think like he's such an amazing writer, like of just of poetry. He's just an incredible, very soulful guy, you know. It's sublime music, really. That's
it's amazing how awkward he is outside of it. He's such an awkward geezer otherwise. He needs to be like, it's like he really needs to express in that place. And you can hear it on some of them tracks where he's just not even using words, and it's just guttural utterances. This absolute need to express himself through the music.
He does. He's not into the show business and he can say some. But I find that quite fun. I saw him being interviewed by Time magazine, and then they were like, "Are there any younger artists that are inspiring you?" And normally, someone more show business would take the opportunity to you know, say something, but he was just like, no, I think it's all been done before, so no. I mean, he is a pretty forthright type of guy, but yeah, he's amazing. So the My Bloody Valentine record, Loveless, why did you choose that?
It's big. They were big for me when I was a kid, you know. I mean, first band that I was really obsessed with was Sonic Youth, and then that led into all sorts of places. I saw My Bloody Valentine playing live in Manchester when I was 16 or 17. It's the loudest gig I ever heard in my life. Loveless is amazing. He was reading about it even. He was obsessive. And of course, there's another Irish artist too that maybe there's something in this kind of Celtic thing that draws me in. To me, it's like, I love music. I've put a bit of dub on there, didn't I? Put rhythm and sound in there. But to me, it's like a different kind of dub. It's like the frequencies are really important, the white noise, the pink noise, the levels, also symphonic levels of noise. It washes over you and cleans you out, like literally, like some people are into crystals and I'm into frequencies for literally spiritual shizzle, you know. And those symphonic levels of different noise to an untrained ear is like, you know, that's just a bloody horrible noise sometimes. To me, it's like medicine, you know, fixes me up.
And is that,
it's very melodic? It's not all.
Is that type of music, you know, like bands like My Bloody Valentine and Sonic Youth, was that like among kind of like the first stuff that you were into, like?
I could have put Jesus Mary Chain in there either and said the same thing about the sort of levels of noise cleaning you off, and also Sonic Youth. But yeah, they when I was a kid, for 14, I went to see Sonic Youth on their Daydream Nation tour, and I never looked back. And I must have been the youngest girl in there. So they allowed me to sit on the side of the stage for the entire gig. I always tell this story. I know everybody's heard it if they've heard me interviewed before, but it's so important to me that I, saw them picking up Kim Gordon and chucking her into the audience over and over again. I've put Sonic Youth in here, haven't I? I've put Daydream Nation in.
Daydream Nation.
Yeah.
So they were kind of, like really, really important for you. But did they kind of inspire? Yeah. Did they therefore inspire you to kind of, take music more seriously and pursue your own thing, or
not pursue music as a thing that I wanted to do, but everything about my life was set up around music from about that age onwards. All my friends, everywhere I went, and I kind of, I always got into a subculture sort of behaviorisms and people and situations, and it led inevitably, as it stands, to where I am. And it made me creative and contrary and brave and, reactionary, and gave me a lot of power as a 14, 15-year-old. And I needed it because my parents broke up when I was 15 in a really bad way. And I really needed to have already my own life to go to. And music really was the thing that catalyzed that. Yeah. Being into music, obsessed with music, and all my friends being really into it. It was my savior. But yeah, this is beyond good record. It's like a Pet Sounds or something. It's really a special fucking record.
When was the first time that you got into Sonic Youth? Like, was it through this record?
Sorry, I was talking about my Bloody Valentine. Going back to my Bloody Valentine. For me, that's like The Loveless is like a Pet Sounds.
Oh, it's a Pet Sounds. Okay, yeah.
It's really a special album. Daydream Nation is too, but I mean more in the context of the whole. It was a real apex record for Sonic Youth as it stood, I loved all the tracks on it that had Kim Gordon on the most. There's something about when she's talking away and being really cool. It's super amazing to me. And I've seen them a few times, actually. Seen them live a few times. They're incredible live band. Incredible live band. Like, Thurston Moore, even when he was knocking on a bit, in Brixton Academy, climbing across the whole system and up on the top of the system with his guitar and whatnot. Brilliant.
What was when was the last time that you saw them?
That would have been then. I think that's not long ago. Well, it is long ago. It's more than 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, an amazing band. And so but yeah, I guess when of these records, what were records that kind of inspired you to make your own stuff and to kind of pursue music, or was it not a particular? Was it not? You couldn't trace it back to one record.
It's more true to say that these records inspired me to create a life that was creative and around creative people. It inspired me to be independent as well, to be independent of my family, to be independent of my background, so not to go back to Ireland, to stay in Manchester and to pursue an underground scene or a sort of subculture that was helping me build my identity as a teenager. And then I fell into music, really. by falling in love with this producer who was Mark Brydon, who was very experienced producer, and he had a big studio in Sheffield called Fon that they built. It was what famous studio for people who wanted to make electronic music. I'd say I was really into music in Manchester, mad about it. Everything revolved around it. But as soon as I went to Sheffield, I started to meet people who were making music, setting up labels, you know, art, doing the graphic design for sleeves, and you know, so I got straight in with Warp, the guys from Warp, and the guys from the Designers Republic, and then Mark and all that lot, and all the DJs that I knew. So everyone that I seemed to meet in Sheffield was actually doing music. So it was sort of only a matter of time, even though I wasn't. I thought I'd be a visual artist of some kind, maybe a filmmaker, a photographer, a visual artist, or could have ended up being a performance artist or something, you know, but I fell into music instead, which allowed me all those disciplines to play around with all them disciplines anyway. But yeah. I thought it was, from being a child, like the only thing I was any good at was a bit of art. So I definitely thought I was going to be an artist of some kind.
So you hadn't, so before, you know, Moloko and stuff, like you hadn't, have you not been like singing kind of that much?
I was in a band in Manchester called And Turquoise Car Crash, and we had 2 gigs, which was just white noise and like fights, basically. Also in the middle of it, there was a car accident simulation in the middle of it, and that was it. And it didn't last beautiful while it did. It shot up like a shooting star, and then it crashed. So all I did was stand at the back of the stage and kind of do voices like, we've had a car crash, you know, in American accent and stuff like that. And just total pink and white noise everywhere, and the lads would be fighting, and the audience on the stage, and just the lads in the audience, and that. But it was cool. We made quite a big noise, but only for 2 gigs.
Only for 2 gigs.
We used to go to rehearsals, and all I really did was get off with the bass player. So no, that was like just fun. But we should have really pursued that. Would have been massive. No, and then I was just really got into nightclubs before I left Manchester. Went to every kind of nightclub going right across the city. So I was really into clubbing by the time I got to Sheff. And that was like I was 18 when I moved to Sheffield, 19. And the scene in Sheffield also was very futuristic. It was very future looking. It was very, I found that very exciting. You know, I was definitely one for kind of not questioning that and just going straight into it. Like, yeah, how modern can things be, you know, and how much can we push, you know, and I forgot about sort of me. I wasn't listening to Van Morrison at the time.
Yeah, I can imagine. But were you listening to stuff like Danny Krivit?
Not yet, no. So Warp was massive at that time. And I got to be friends with Winston Hazel and Rob Gordon and those people who put the first records out on Warp. And they were like, you know, bleep and techno. And but also I was really into, jazz funk and jazz dancing, and I really liked like the funky room in the Palais, and learning to dance and things like that. I was really into not learning properly to dance, but you know, observing dance styles and trying to do them on the dance floor. I was really into that. And then I had been really into sort of acid and things in Manchester. It wasn't really acidy in Sheffield. It was like bordering on industrial dance music. Also, you had Cabaret Voltaire still doing stuff in Sheffield at that time, which was there was this crossover with, say, your Sonic Youth, and then going into the modern shit, you know. And it was very exciting to me. I found it all extremely exciting. And it was literally a matter of time when you look back on it. Some of the first people I met were the guys who ran Warp, and Rob Mitchell was very sweet to me and and his wife used to feed me every Sunday and stuff like that. And he said to me once, I don't know what you're going to be, Róisín, but you're going to be something. So that was kind of how I was rolling, really. It was going to be something, but nobody knew what the hell, including myself, what it was going to be. Until I met Mark at a party and we fell in love, and he took me to his big studio, Fon Studios, in the middle of the night, the first night, to record me saying, do you like my tight sweater? See how it fits my body, which I had been chanting all night. So all sorts of people worked on him. And then we got together, and now and again when the studio was empty, we went in and did stupid shit like that. And without us even knowing, his manager at the time took it to London and played it to a few people under a different name. I think we were called the Numbskulls. It was called the Numbskulls. When I say we, it was like some things with me just talking and doing stupid stuff, and then some things with nothing, with no, just instrumentals. But it had a vibe. It had a lot of P-funk in it. And so it had an identity before we even recognised that it did. And his manager took it to London, and somebody offered us a 6-album deal before I'd ever sung a note. And after a while, he just got me singing after we'd signed the deal.
Wow, it's an amazing story. It's so different to. Yeah, I mean, it's different to, like, really, really different to almost any kind of story from other artists who've kind of been saying how they got into the industry.
Yeah,
and it really sounds like a very exciting, cool time in your life.
It was amazing place to be. Sheffield at that time still is for music, just really an amazing place. And it's it's a small scene, but it's a very vibrant one, very DIY one, very very get up and go and pushing it forward. And because it's a small scene and everybody's so friendly, it was just immediate. I wasn't there a year before my life started, really, in earnest. And never looked back.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've become a soul singer, more or less, since in about the last couple of years. Yeah, amazing.
And were you not told? Were you not kind of because I read that you used to hide your voice and stuff. Is that true?
Yeah, because well, first of all, I sang "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" when I was 11 to my mother and my nana and my auntie Pat and my auntie Linda and my uncle Jim and all them people. They're having a few drinks, and everybody sings all the time. Everybody learns a song, 2 songs, 10 songs, 100 songs that they can sing when they have a few drinks. And that was very much our culture, my family culture anyway. My dad was constantly singing songs, constantly. I was brought up around song. Song was nearly like talking, almost. Really. And so anyway, my song was "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." And once I'd sang it, they all realized I could sing. And it was just hell every time, which is quite regular. They'd have a few drinks together. But I'd have to run away because I really didn't want to sing it anymore. And they'd be like, "Sing Don't Cry for Me, your nana could be dead this time next year. Would you just please get the singer the song and give me all the guilt about it?" And that, so yeah. And then of course I got into Sonic Youth. I didn't really want to be singing if I had a voice like a little Elaine Page or something, you know what I mean? It's kind of also very cool. And my voice is, when I sing, a singy voice, I do have a singy voice in the end. Just didn't think it was cool to be singing.
Well, I'm glad you changed your mind, or at least changed your mind in part. So
Yeah, I'm changing my mind.
So the Imagination record that you chose, Night Dubbing, that's a very cool record.
Again, again, that is a wicked record. Again, that is the kind of thing I was telling you about. This sort of dubbed version of a record that already exists.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a thing that recurs. I love that whole thing. I just love the sense of the continuousness of it. And I love a bit of dub disco. Burial 7, yeah. Now, this is not an album, but I listened to it about 100 times. And it is, I think, 4 or 5, maybe 6 tracks with different vocals on, but it's the same rhythm track underneath. So it's very much, and again, this is another thing tying up where versions in Jamaican music, although this is rhythm and sound produced, so it's German dub, you know, where they'll have the rhythm track and it will serve 10 songs that everyone knows, you know. So that's what this is. It's a track after a track after a track after a track, but the basis is the same. But my God, what a basis. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's the best groove that ever was, you know. It would just fix you up. You could literally have COVID-19 and it would cure it. It's unbelievable. This is all we need in the world today. This is all we need in the world today. This Burial 7. Get it on.
And so I've got two final things.
Just say it's kind of the antithesis of what we're supposed to be talking about. Album, whole story, you know, very egotistic, really, the whole idea of this album thing.
Yeah.
For the artist, oh, my vision, and it's a story, and it's a believe me, I've done plenty of really ridiculous albums myself, and I know how you get carried away and whatnot. So, but this is the antithesis of that. This mentality is, no, I've got like one groove. I don't need to change this groove. It's perfect. I don't need anything else. And going back to Moody Man and people like that, they have that mentality where it's like the ego does not get in the way of the ears. It just is. I hear that. That's good. That's not good. Doesn't matter how I made it. Doesn't matter where it came from. Doesn't matter if I'm repeating myself. Doesn't matter if it's simple. Doesn't matter if it's complicated. Can I hear it? Is it good? That's what it should be, you know? And I love this. This is, you'll have to play it at my funeral, this one.
No, I'm looking forward to listening to it, and yeah, I've never heard of it, so yeah, I feel very uncool as a result. But so the next two things are Alice Coltrane and the Butthole Surfers. So
yeah.
which of the two would you like to talk about first?
Don't mind.
Let's go with the Butthole Surfers.
Mostly, like, Butthole Surfers, like, locust abortion technician. First of all, it's got the most, it's not a, I was talking about film with some friends last night. There's a guy here who's a director, and we're talking about how we don't like things that are perfect. That actually mood is just the most important thing in everything. And, you know, also, this is not a perfect record. It's the best start of any record ever. First of all, the intro is genius. And then that version is Sweet Loaf, which again is a version, you know. So we'll keep coming back to this kind of modesty of things as well. But yeah, also when I also picked it because as a kid, to have this record, it was a bit like, you know, you know, your mum doesn't like it and stuff like that. It's got a really evil album cover. You just go, look at this. And I love that. You know, so important as a teenager to have that. sort of space to be in sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would have loved seeing this band live, never did. But the girl who just remixed Murphy's Law, Colleen Murphy, who actually was the one who told me about the Imagination record, she's an amazing person. She is American, and she worked with, she was like right-hand man for Mancuso. So very important figure in dance music and all that. Very knowledgeable woman, just knows everything. And we were talking the other day and the Butthole Surfers came up. You wouldn't expect her to be into the Butthole Surfers, but she didn't expect me to be into the Butthole Surfers. She was like, oh my God. But she'd been to see them when they were going around at that time, so late 80s. And she said her and a mate put all green dye on themselves, food dye. They dyed themselves green and went to the Butthole Surfers gig. I mean, come on. And then she ended up being with David Mancuso for fucking 25 years. I mean, she's the coolest woman in the world, and she's a Murphy. So no, it was like, I just love that. I just love that we shit. It's fucking great.
And the Alice Coltrane record.
Alice Coltrane. I mean, that's a piece of music that I've put on like lots of little films. That, you know, when I make little films for Instagram, that stuff is so good that you could literally put any image on top of it and it would just sing. It just sings, you know. And I don't know much about her story. Obviously, I think she was married to John Coltrane, and she was all that. I don't know whether she was overlooked for, probably she was overlooked for a few years, or no, people didn't really know about her. But my generation, you know, it's about Alice more than anything. I love her.
Yeah, it was a great record. That's one I got to listen to in full when I got your list. So
out here, I'm on holiday at the moment, works in this kind of environment, like where it's hot. And yeah, I vibe on it. Or a bit of sketches in Spain, sketches of Spain, Miles Davis, that works out here, obviously. Spain.
Yeah, I can imagine it would. So I've got one more question for you, which is of the things that you've cut and recorded. Is there any one song that you're particularly proud of that you're, you know, really fond of?
I'm very, well, not one song, but I'm definitely very proud of Hairless Toys. I think it's a great album. Perfect album, actually. If down to me, I think it's the most perfect thing I've ever made. Okay. But, you know, it's not a very popular opinion about my work, probably, comparably to say Overpowered, or even this will probably be. You know, people are going, oh my God, this record, genius, it's amazing, it's such a great record. She's back. You know, you get that kind of response to it, and my kind of going, it's not that good. You mean, but it's good, it's really good. But it's not fucking Hairless Toys. Sorry. Well,
it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Róisín.
That doesn't mean people shouldn't go out now and buy it because it's really good. And I'll put people off the record now, haven't I?
No, not at all. And obviously, you know, but you should be in the promotional, you know, mindset of Róisín Machine, of course.
Róisín Machine, really good. Go and get it. That's the best record I've ever made.
Out in September, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, at the end of September. Get it. You can get it in. You'll be able to get it in Woolworths and our price. End of September.
Well, thanks so much, Róisín. Hope you're having a good time on holiday, and thanks so much for putting together the list and stuff. It's been really good talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, love. Bye-bye.
Bye.